The goal of this section is to familiarize you with how to solve problems for speed, distance, and time. Before we can talk about solving problems, we need to review some definitions. Speed is how quickly an object changes its position. There are a couple different types of speed we will talk about in this class. First, instantaneous speed is the distance traveled per time at any given moment. An example of instantaneous speed would be your speedometer in your car. At one point in your trip, you might be traveling 25 miles per hour, while at another point, you might be traveling 55 miles per hour. Average speed is the distance traveled per time over the whole trip. As an example, it is roughly 80 miles to Madison, and it takes you 1.5 hours to get there. Your average speed would be 53.3 miles per hour. At some points along your trip, you might be traveling faster than 53.3 miles per hour, and at other times you will be traveling slower. Let's look at the formula we will be using for speed. Speed is equal to distance divided by time. Our formula wheel has distance on the top with speed and time on the bottom. If we want to solve for distance, we can cover that up and we are left with speed multiplied by time. If we want to solve for time, we can cover that up and we are left with distance divided by speed. Some typical units that we will see for speed are miles over hours or miles per hour, feet per second, kilometers per hour, meters per second, or even Mach. Mach is the ratio of the speed of a body to the speed of sound. For example, Mach 1 equals the speed of sound in air, which is 332 meters per second, or 717 miles per hour. Velocity and speed are closely related, but they are not the same thing. The velocity of an object is the object's speed in a particular direction. For example, the velocity of the blue car is in the positive x direction, while the velocity of the police car is in the negative x direction. We can use the same formula to solve for speed as we did velocity. However, when we are talking about velocity, we have to specify a direction. In this class, we are mostly only going to look at speed. Let's take a look at a few examples on how to use the speed, distance, time formula. Joe walks 5.5 miles in 1.5 hours. What is his average walking speed? First, we need to figure out what we are solving for. In this problem, we need to find his walking speed. Using our circle calculator, if we cover up speed, we are left with distance divided by time. Make sure you remember to write down your formula before substituting in any values. Now we can substitute in 5.5 miles for our distance and 1.5 hours for time. When we punch this into our calculators, we end up with a walking speed of about 3.67 miles per hour. Remember to round to 3 significant digits in this class. In our last example, we are solving for something other than speed. Jerry floats his raft down the Mississippi River with a 6 mile per hour current. How far does Jerry go in 5 hours and 15 minutes? Before we can try to figure out what we are solving for, we see that we have mixed units for time. So we need to change 5 hours and 15 minutes into all hours, just like we did in applied math. 15 minutes is 15/60ths, or 0.25 hours. So our total time is 5.25 hours. Now, since we need to figure out how far Jerry travels, we are trying to find a distance. Covering up distance in our circle calculator, we are left with speed multiplied by time. So our formula is distance is equal to speed multiplied by time. Now we can substitute in the values we are given for speed and time. Speed is 6 miles per hour and the time is 5.25 hours. Multiplying across and rounding to 3 significant digits, we are left with a distance of 31.5 miles. This concludes our discussion on solving distance, speed, and time.